So when I applied to photo school 2 years ago, I didn't really know what to expect of the studies, and I imagine it's the same for a lot of people out there. So in this video, I want to break it down semester by semester and tell you exactly what I did in each semester, what subjects did I study, what did I learn, what projects did I work on, and which skills did I take away from each semester. And since I have a lot to cover, I thought I'll break this down into a mini series with each video covering one semester of my photography degree. But before I go into all of it, if you are new to this channel, hi, I'm Katja. I'm a photography student and working photographer in Berlin, Germany. And I'm currently entering my 5th semester of a 7-semester degree at Ostkreuzschule Berlin, which is a private photography school based here in the city. So on this channel, I share my entire journey in photography, my learnings, my experiences, my inspiration. So if you're interested in following along, please subscribe to this channel. But now, without further ado, let's get into all of the details of my first semester at Ostkreuzschule Berlin. So I decided to cover 4 areas in this video, and the first of them is going to be what subjects did I study in the first semester. So the second one is about how much time did the studies take up. The third one is which projects did I work on, and I'm going to show you examples of the work that I did throughout the first semester. And lastly, in the fourth part, I'm going to summarize what I learned, what I took away, how I progressed, and basically how I felt throughout the first semester. Okay, let's start by answering the question, which subjects did I study? We studied 7 subjects, and these subjects were photography, which is basically the core and main subject of this degree. You get a class teacher dedicated to your class, and you're going to stay with this class teacher for the entirety of the first semester and the second semester, so throughout your first year at the school. This is where you're gonna get photography assignments, and you're gonna do the assignments, and then you're gonna bring your results back to class, and you're gonna present your results back to the teacher and to the class, and you're gonna work on basically editing your images together, discussing what went well, what didn't go well, what problems did you encounter while photographing, and the teacher is gonna critique your work, and also the entire class is going to critique your work. So you're going to basically workshop each exercise together. And the cool thing about this is that you not only learn by working on your own stuff, but you really absorb and learn a lot by workshopping other people's work as well. I'm going to go through the other 6 subjects a little bit more quickly, so you just get an idea. The second thing is digital theory and digital practice. I guess you could split them in 2, which I did, mentioning 7 subjects, but it's actually 1. So let's say you have 6 subjects, right? So digital theory is where you learn about how to work digitally with files, and you learn all of the theory behind like what are different color spectrums like RGB. You learn like about pixel sizes and file sizes and theoretical work that you need to work with digital files. And in digital practice, you basically apply that knowledge, and you learn about scanning film and digitalizing film. You learn about printing. You learn about how to use editing software. The third subject you're going to have is lab. And lab is all about shooting and developing analog film, and also the whole process from film to print. It's all about analog film work. And especially in the first semester, you're going to focus on black and white film developing, on black and white film printing, and also on how to shoot with an analog camera. Then you have a subject that is called technical studies. This is all about studio work. So you learn how to set up lights in the studio and how to work in the studio. So you learn to work with a light meter, you learn to work with light stands, with flashes, and everything to do with achieving a proper exposure. So the 5th subject you're gonna have is history of photography. And the 6th and last subject that you're gonna study is design. Okay, let's now move on to the question of how much time did the studies take up in the first semester. And there's a clear structure to the degree. You have lessons in your subjects every other week, and every other week you have between 3 and 5 days a week of studies. In the 3 weeks, you basically have time to do all of your photography exercises, your photography assignments that you get from your photography teacher, but also you have time to kind of implement and work on stuff that you learned in all of the other subjects. But it's also a time where a lot of people in my class, and me included, were taking time to actually work a job. So because this is a private degree, most people have to work to afford it. So now I want to dive into some of the projects that we worked on and basically tell you about the individual assignments that we would get in photography class. So basically the first semester was all about black and white photography. So over the course of the first semester, we had 5 assignments to work on in our photography class. And out of these assignments, we had one bigger one that would span the entirety of the semester and 4 smaller ones that we would do. So the bigger assignment throughout the whole semester was really cool, I think. And it was that everybody in our class, we were 15 people in total, had to photograph everybody in the class one by one. This was basically a portraiture assignment, and it gave us a lot of practice in portraiture. And this was a really cool assignment for the first semester because it gave us a chance to get to know everybody in our class in a one-on-one setting. And also it gave us the opportunity to really practice our portraiture skills. So while this big assignment of portraits of classmates was going on throughout the entire semester, we then had smaller things to work on each week or bi-weekly. The first of those things was to rephotograph a historical image. So this assignment was about diving into photographic history and looking for an image that kind of sparks some inspiration in ourselves. And then everybody would decide on a photo and recreate a version of that photo today. So for this exercise, I chose a photo by the photographer Alfred Stieglitz, and he photographed his partner and the painter and great artist Georgia O'Keeffe. I recreated this photo actually with my grandmother. You really have to pay close attention to the lighting in a photo, the composition, but also like the mood and the expression and what this photo kind of transports. And in my case, I think it was really about the intimacy between the photographer and the subject and somehow capturing that. Moving on to an exercise that we did that was to do with still life photography and really an inanimate object. And it was also about shooting in the studio. And this was an exercise called Photograph an Egg. It sounds a little funny, and what's the point of photographing an egg? But the point was really to get ourselves in the studio and also think about how do we want to photograph this maybe kind of boring everyday object and make it creative, make it a little bit interesting. I'm not really sure that I achieved this, but I don't know, you be the judge of this. Here's my egg. Then we had another more kind of technical exercise, and this was to study light in a still life. So the exercise was to set up a still life and then set up your camera on a tripod and have kind of direct light hitting your still life. And then you would take an analog film, so you would shoot with an analog camera and do an exposure every hour of the day. This exercise was meant to like show you and study light. Okay, then another exercise that was given to us was to document a person or a group of people and tell kind of a little story about them. And since it was still during like pandemic lockdown times, I didn't really find a group of people that I wanted to photograph, but I actually contacted my old art teacher from way back in high school, and I asked her if I could document kind of her work. She is retired by now, so she doesn't teach in the school anymore, but she still works as an artist and also does performances with kind of dancing. She also does this cool kind of street art. So now in the fourth part, I want to talk a little bit about how I progressed in the first semester, what I learned, what were my takeaways, but also how did I feel and did I enjoy it. And maybe talking about practical things first, I think one of the biggest things I learned was basically how to develop black and white film in the lab, and also how to do prints, which was kind of a scary and daunting process for me, but it was definitely fun and really a magical process to learn it and see in lab kind of like the picture showing up and developing. And I think I learned definitely a lot about position and portraiture, framing, light and body postures from that exercise of shooting my classmates. And I also learned about editing your work into a cohesive series, and you will see in the second, third and fourth part of this video series that this is a theme throughout the entire degree. One of the softer skills and things that I learned and took away was how to talk about my work, how to present it, and how to discuss it with the group, and also how to take critique, be open to critique, and also critique other people's work. So this kind of workshopping your own work and presenting your own work part is very important, and it was very new. I would also say that it's like one of the most valuable things that a photography degree can actually provide you with, is a group of people who are all in the same boat as you, doing the same kind of thing, and you share the experiences, the learnings, and you don't feel as alone with your work as you would if you were just go out and teach yourself everything and maybe watch some YouTube tutorials, which are useful and helpful. I love YouTube tutorials, don't get me wrong, but it's just a different feeling being in the same room with 14 other photographers and the teacher who's a more experienced photographer than you, and collectively working on photography. And maybe overall also something that you learn is to see. You start seeing the world differently, you start seeing the world in photographs, and you kind of look for good light everywhere, for composition everywhere, and you kind of internalize photography as a practice, and it becomes part of who you are and how you approach the visual world around you, which was personally for me a really big takeaway and learning. So overall, I'm really glad that I decided to make a portfolio and apply for this degree. First semester I really learned a ton, and I also got to know really cool people and really cool teachers, and I'm really grateful. And there's a lot of surprising and interesting things that then I progressed to learn in the second semester and the third and fourth semester. And if you want to learn about all of these experiences and see what work I created in the rest of my studies, please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and the second, third and fourth part to the series will follow in the following weeks, and stay tuned for those videos. Until then, I'll see you. Bye bye.